So, what'd you think of the festival tonight?
Oh, I thought it was great. I had a great time the entire day, actually.
Yeah, good, good. Me too.
I thought it was a great idea for us all to meet over at Tim's place. I mean, you and I were obviously running late because he lives out in the boonies, but, better late than never.
Yeah, I agree. When you get a group of people together to go to an event like this, it just adds to the enjoyment, the fun. And it's kind of like the saying goes, the more the merrier.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think it was really important that we all went to the concert together in one group because, it was so large, it would have made it really difficult to find people in our group if we would have all gone separately.
Right.
It
I mean,
actually it actually surprised me because that the crowd was so large. I mean, the tickets cost an arm and a leg, so I was kind of thinking that maybe the crowd wouldn't be as big.
yeah, but price doesn't usually deter you from going to hear music, right?
No, it's true. You're right.
But speaking of us staying together, it just was making me think of the crowds, and I just didn't think that in general the festival was laid out that well.
Well, there were four different stages.
No, there were six.
Oh, there were six stages?
Yeah,
See, we only went to two of them,
I know.
but the stages were kind of far apart. And you know what the most impractical design was? I thought that they they had very narrow walkways between the stages, and
Yes.
sometimes you had to go through a little tunnel, like a foot tunnel,
Yeah.
and there would be thousands of people trying to go through a space that only maybe 20 people could go through at a time.
Oh yeah, the crowd would get completely bottlenecked.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to go from one stage to the next was just it took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was one thing that was, just not properly planned for on their part.
No, and then there'd be all these random trails through the woods that people were trying to forge their way through.
Yeah, true. Another thing that was a real hassle was trying to get a beer.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, the wait, the line was like, 120 people long every time you wanted to go get a beer.
Yeah. Well, first you had to stand in line just for them to check your ID and get the wristband.
Yeah,
That was
and
bad
oh,
enough.
that was an even longer line.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, once you had the wristband, though, then it was battling the lines just to get a beer each time. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
yeah, and if you wanted to go get a beer while the band was playing, you basically had to decide whether you wanted to see the music
Yep.
or you really wanted a beer. Which was more important to you? You had to make a
Right.
choice.
Yeah. Make a list of pros and cons.
Yeah, yeah. How thirsty am I versus how much do I want to hear this music? And the lines to the bathroom were really long, also.
Yeah, the lines in general were just a hassle. I have to agree.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were leaving the event, it took us over an hour just to get out of the stadium.
Oh,
Remember,
God.
there were all these people who were starting to climb the fences
Yeah.
instead of going through the little tunnel. I mean,
Yes.
and the fence, it looked like it was going to break. I mean, it was totally an accident waiting to happen.
Right. That was something I didn't understand. Like it Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, I didn't remember seeing fences like that.
Well, hardly strictly bluegrass. That festival is free, so I don't think they
Oh,
had to put up the
yeah.
barriers
That's
to entry.
okay. That makes sense. I was wondering what the deal was with the fences.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why you never have that problem at that festival.
Right. Hi, this is Kristen Dodds.
And this is Joe Weiss, and we just wanted to let you know that this material is copyrighted in the year 2008 by Learn Real English LLC. www.learnrealenglish.com. Hi, and welcome to the mini story lesson for the Conversation Music Festival, Part 1. Okay, let's get started with the story. It was Sam the Spider's 30th birthday. None of his friends wished him a happy birthday. "My friends forgot my birthday,"
he said. Tom and Melissa called Sam. They invited him to come to their house to watch a movie. The more the merrier, said Tom. Sam thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. It was a hassle because they lived 10 miles away from his house. A taxi ride to their house would cost an arm and a leg. But he did not want to be alone on his birthday, so he decided to go. He was running late because he had to spin some webs. Better late than never, he said. He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house, but no one was home. He wondered what the deal was. Then he saw all of his friends. Happy birthday, Sam! They yelled. Now Sam was happy. It was the best birthday he had ever had. Okay, so that's our story. Now I will read the story again, and this time I will ask questions. You can answer the questions out loud, and if you need a little more time, feel free to pause your iPod or your computer. And then when you feel like you've had enough time to answer the question, then press play again. Of course, if you just feel like listening as I ask the questions and not answering, well, that's fine too. Okay, let's get started. It was Sam the Spider's 30th birthday. Was it Sam's 30th birthday? Yes, it was. It was Sam's 30th birthday. What day was it? Well, it was Sam's 30th birthday. That's what day it was. Whose birthday was it? Sam's. It was Sam's birthday. Was it Bill's birthday? No, it wasn't Bill's birthday. Was it Sam's birthday? Yes, it was. It was Sam's birthday. How old was Sam? 30 years old. He was 30 years old. Was he 30 or 20 years old? 30. He was 30 years old. Is Sam a spider or a butterfly? A spider. Sam is a spider. Is Sam a spider? Yes, he is. Sam is a spider. None of his friends wished him a happy birthday. Did his friends wish him a happy birthday? No, none of his friends wished him a happy birthday. What did none of his friends do? Wish him a happy birthday. None of his friends wished him a happy birthday. None of whose friends wished him a happy birthday? Sam's. None of Sam's friends wished him a happy birthday. Did Sam's friend Tom wish him a happy birthday? No, he did not. None of Sam's friends wished him a happy birthday. So that means Sam's friend Tom did not wish him a happy birthday. My friends forgot my birthday, he said. Did he say that his friends forgot his birthday? Yes, he did. He said, my friends forgot my birthday. Who forgot his birthday? His friends. His friends forgot his birthday. Did his parents forget his birthday? No, not his parents. Did his friends forget his birthday? Yes, his friends. His friends forgot his birthday. Whose birthday did they forget? Sam's. They forgot Sam's birthday. Did they forget Tom's birthday? No, not Tom. Did they forget Sam's birthday? Yes, they forgot Sam's birthday. He said they forgot my birthday. What did his friends forget? Well, Sam said they forgot his birthday, so they forgot Sam's birthday. Tom and Melissa called Sam. Did Tom and Melissa call Sam? Yes, they did. Tom and Melissa called Sam. What did Tom and Melissa do? They called Sam. Tom and Melissa called Sam. Did Tom and Melissa write him a letter or call him? They called him. Tom and Melissa called him. Who called Sam? Tom and Melissa. Tom and Melissa called Sam. Did Bill and Hillary call Sam? No, not Bill and Hillary. Did Tom and Melissa call Sam? Yes, they did. Tom and Melissa called Sam. Who did Tom and Melissa call? Sam. They called Sam. Tom and Melissa called Sam. They invited him to come to their house to watch a movie. Did they invite him to come to their house to watch a movie? Yes, they did. They invited him to come to their house to watch a movie. What did they do? Well, they invited him to come to their house to watch a movie. Did they invite him to come to their house for dinner or for a movie? A movie. They invited him to come to their house to watch a movie. Who invited him to come to their house? Tom and Melissa. Tom and Melissa invited him to come to their house. Did Tom and Melissa invite him to come to their house? Yes, they did. Tom and Melissa invited him to come to their house. Who did they invite? Sam. They invited Sam. Did they invite Bill or Sam? Sam. They invited Sam. Why did they invite him to their house? To watch a movie. They invited him to their house to watch a movie. The more the merrier, said Tom. What did Tom say? Well, he said the more the merrier. Did Tom say if there are more people with him, then it will be more fun? Yes, he did. He said the more the merrier, which is the same thing as saying the more people that are with him, then the more fun it will be. The more the merrier means the more people that you are with, the more fun you will have. Did Tom think that it would be more fun if Sam came to his house? Yes, he did. He said, the more the merrier. Sam thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. Did Sam think about the pros and cons of going to their house? Yes, he did. That's what he did. He thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. What did Sam think about? The pros and cons of going to their house. He thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. Did Sam think about the pros and cons of the weather? No, it wasn't about the weather that he was thinking about the pros and cons. Did Sam think about the good points and the bad points? Yes, he did. He thought about the pros and cons, which is the same thing as saying he thought about the good points and the bad points. The pros and cons are the good points and the bad points. Who thought about the pros and cons? Sam. Sam thought about the pros and cons. Did Sam or Tom think about the pros and cons? Sam. Sam did. Sam thought about the pros and cons. What did Sam think about the pros and cons of? Going to their house. He thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. Did Sam think about the pros and cons of going to Paris? No, he didn't think of the pros and cons of going to Paris. Did he think about the pros and cons of going to their house? Yes, he did. He thought about the pros and cons of going to their house. Did he think about the good and the bad points of going to their house? Yes, he did. He thought about the pros and cons, which means he thought about the good and the bad points. The pros and cons are the good and the bad points of something. It was a hassle because they lived 10 miles away from his house. Was it a hassle because they lived 10 miles away from his house? Yes, it was. It was a hassle because they lived 10 miles away from his house. What was a hassle? Was going to their house or making dinner a hassle? Going to their house was a hassle because they lived so far away. Was going to their house inconvenient? Yes, it was. Going to their house was a hassle, which is the same thing as saying going to their house was inconvenient. Something that is a hassle is something that is inconvenient. Why was it a hassle? Well, it was a hassle because they lived 10 miles away. Was it inconvenient because they lived 10 miles away from his house? Yes, it was. It was a hassle because they lived 10 miles away from his house, which is the same thing as saying it was inconvenient because they lived 10 miles away from his house. Who lived 10 miles away from his house? Tom and Melissa. Tom and Melissa lived 10 miles away from his house. Did Tom and Melissa live 10 miles away from his house? Yes, they did. Tom and Melissa lived 10 miles away from his house. Was it inconvenient to go to Tom and Melissa's house? Yes, it was. It was a hassle, which means that it was inconvenient. How far away from his house did they live? 10 miles. They lived 10 miles away from his house. Did they live 10 miles or 10 meters away from his house? 10 miles. They lived 10 miles away from his house. How many miles away from his house did they live? 10. They lived 10 miles away from his house. Did Tom and Melissa live 10 miles away from his house? Yes, they did. They lived 10 miles away from his house. A taxi ride to their house would cost an arm and a leg. Would a taxi ride to their house cost an arm and a leg? Yes, it would. A taxi ride to their house would cost an arm and a leg. Would a taxi ride to their house be cheap? No, it would not be cheap. It would cost an arm and a leg. Would a taxi ride to their house cost a lot of money? Yes, it would. It would cost an arm and a leg, which is the same thing as saying it would cost a lot of money. An arm and a leg means a lot of money. What would cost an arm and a leg? A taxi ride to their house. A taxi ride to their house would cost an arm and a leg. Would a taxi ride to their house or a loaf of bread cost an arm and a leg? A taxi ride to their house, not an arm and a leg. Would a taxi ride to their house be expensive? Yes, it would. It would cost an arm and a leg, which is the same thing as saying it would cost a lot of money or that it would be expensive. When something costs an arm and a leg, it means that it is expensive. But he did not want to be alone on his birthday. Did he want to be alone on his birthday? No, he did not. He did not want to be alone on his birthday. What did he not want? To be alone on his birthday. He did not want to be alone on his birthday. Who did not want to be alone on his birthday? Sam. Sam did not want to be alone on his birthday. When did he not want to be alone? On his birthday. He did not want to be alone on his birthday. So he decided to go. Did he decide to go? Yes, he did. He decided to go. What did he decide? To go. He decided to go. Did he decide to stay or go? Go. He decided to go. Who decided to go? Sam. Sam decided to go. Did Tom or Sam decide to go? Sam did. Sam decided to go. Where did he decide to go? To Tom and Melissa's house. He decided to go to Tom and Melissa's house. Did he decide to go to Tom and Melissa's house or to a dance club? Tom and Melissa's house. He decided to go to Tom and Melissa's house. Why did he decide to go? Well, he decided to go because he did not want to be alone on his birthday. He was running late because he had to spin some webs. Was he running late? Yes, he was. He was running late. Was he late? Yes, he was. He was running late, which is the same thing as saying he was late. Running late means to be late. Who was running late? Sam. Sam was running late. Was Sam late? Yes, he was. Sam was late. He was running late. Did he have to spin some webs? Yes, he did. He had to spin some webs. To spin some webs here means he had to make some webs. Spiders make webs to catch flies or bugs, so Sam wanted to make some webs so he could catch some flies or some bugs probably. Who had to spin some webs? Sam. Sam had to spin some webs. Did Sam or Tom have to spin some webs? Sam. Sam had to spin some webs. Why was Sam late? Well, he was late because he had to spin some webs. Better late than never, he said. Did he say better late than never? Yes, he did. He said better late than never. Did he say that it was better to go late than not at all? Yes, he said better late than never. Better late than never means better to go late than not to go at all. Who said better late than never? Sam. Sam said better late than never. Did Sam or Tom say better late than never? Sam did. Sam said better late than never. Did Sam say that it was better to go late than not to go at all? Yes, he did. That's what he said. He said better late than never, which is the same thing as saying better to go late than not to go at all. Better late than never means it's better to go late than not to go at all. He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house, but no one was home. What did he do? He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Did he arrive at the library or at Tom and Melissa's house? At Tom and Melissa's house. He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Who arrived at Tom and Melissa's house? Sam. Sam arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Did Sam or Nathan arrive at Tom and Melissa's house? Sam did. Sam arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Whose house did he arrive at? Tom and Melissa's. He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Did he arrive at his parents' house? No, he didn't arrive at his parents' house. Did he arrive at Tom and Melissa's house? Yes, he did. He arrived at Tom and Melissa's house. Was anybody home? No, there wasn't. There was no one home. He wondered what the deal was. Did he wonder what the deal was? Yes, he did. He wondered what the deal was. Did he wonder what was happening? Yes, he did. He wondered what the deal was, which is the same thing as saying he wondered what was happening. Who wondered what the deal was? Sam. Sam wondered what the deal was. Did Tom or Sam wonder what the deal was? Sam did. Sam wondered what the deal was. Did Sam wonder what was happening? Yes, he did. He wondered what the deal was, which is the same thing as saying he wondered what was happening. When you say what the deal was, it's the same thing as saying what was happening. Then he saw all of his friends. Did he see all of his friends? Yes, he did. He saw all of his friends. Who saw all of his friends? Sam. Sam did. Sam saw all of his friends. Did Tom see all of his friends? No, it wasn't Tom. Did Sam see all of his friends? Yes, he did. Sam did. Sam saw all of his friends. What did he see? All of his friends. He saw all of his friends. Did he see a dog or all of his friends? All of his friends. He saw all of his friends. Happy birthday, Sam! They yelled. Who yelled, Happy birthday, Sam? His friends. Sam's friends yelled, Happy birthday, Sam. Did his friends wish him a happy birthday? Yes, they did. They yelled, Happy birthday, Sam. So they wished him a happy birthday. Who did they wish a happy birthday? Sam. They wished Sam a happy birthday. Now Sam was happy. Was Sam angry? No, he wasn't angry. Was Sam happy? Yes, he was. Sam was happy. Who was happy? Sam. Sam was happy. Was Sam or Tom happy? Sam. Sam was happy. It was the best birthday he had ever had. Was it the worst birthday he had ever had? No, it wasn't the worst birthday he had ever had. Was it the best birthday he had ever had? Yes, it was. It was the best birthday he had ever had. Had he ever had a better birthday? No, he had not. It was the best birthday he had ever had. Did Sam have a good birthday? Yes, he did. He had the best birthday he had ever had. Okay, so that is the end of our story, which means that we are at the end of the mini story lesson for the conversation Music Festival Part 1. Now please tell the story on your own. Remember, you do not need to remember every single word in the story, but you do need to use the idioms and the vocabulary words that we discussed. And those were the more the merrier, pros and cons, hassle, an arm and a leg, running late, better late than never, and what the deal was. Okay, so now try to tell the story on your own. Remember that you can listen to this mini story lesson as many times as you need to. So if you need to listen to it a few more times, then go ahead. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, this is Kristen Dodds.
And this is Joe Weiss. And we just wanted to let you know that this material has been copyrighted in the year 2008 by Learn Real English, LLC. www.learnrealenglish.com. Hi, it's me, Joe. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to start now the point of view stories for Music Festival Part 1. Now, in the original story from the mini story lesson, Music Festival Part 1, the story is told as if it has already happened. So today we're going to hear 3 other versions of the story. We'll hear a version where it's happening right now. We'll hear a version where it's going to happen in the future. And then we'll hear a version of the story where Sam actually tells the story. Okay, let's start by telling the story as if it is happening right now. Here we go. It is Sam the Spider's 30th birthday. None of his friends wish him a happy birthday. "My friends forgot my birthday," he says. Tom and Melissa call Sam. They invite him to come to their house to watch a movie. "The more the merrier," says Tom. Sam thinks about the pros and cons of going to their house. It's a hassle because they live 10 miles away from his house. A taxi ride to their house costs an arm and a leg. But he does not want to be alone on his birthday, so he decides to go. He is running late because he has to spin some webs. "Better late than never," he says. He arrives at Tom and Melissa's house, but no one is home. He wonders what the deal is. Then he sees all of his friends. "Happy birthday, Sam!" they yell. Now Sam is happy. It is the best birthday he has ever had. Okay, so that's the end of the story being told as if it is happening in the present, meaning as if it is happening right now. Next, let's hear the story as if it is going to happen next year. So here we go. Next year, it is going to be Sam the Spider's 30th birthday. None of his friends are going to wish him a happy birthday. "My friends forgot my birthday," he will say. Tom and Melissa are going to call Sam. They'll invite him to come to their house to watch a movie. "The more the merrier," Tom will say. Sam is going to think about the pros and cons of going to their house. It will be a hassle because they live 10 miles away from his house. A taxi ride to their house will cost an arm and a leg. But he's not going to want to be alone on his birthday, so he'll decide to go. He'll be running late because he's gonna have to spin some webs. Better late than never, he'll say. He's gonna arrive at Tom and Melissa's house, but no one will be home. He's gonna wonder what the deal is. Then he's gonna see all of his friends. Happy birthday, Sam! They're gonna yell. Then Sam's going to be happy. It'll be the best birthday he has ever had. Okay, so that's the end of this version of the story, where the events are taking place next year. Now let's hear the story from Sam's point of view. So in this version we're about to hear, Sam is going to be telling the story himself. Here goes. It's my 30th birthday. None of my friends wish me a happy birthday. I say, my friends forgot my birthday. Tom and Melissa call me. They invite me to come to their house to watch a movie. The more the merrier, says Tom. I think about the pros and cons of going to their house. It's a hassle because they live 10 miles away from my house. A taxi ride to their house costs an arm and a leg. But I do not want to be alone on my birthday, so I decide to go. I'm running late because I have to spin some webs. Better late than never, I say. I arrive at Tom and Melissa's house, but no one is home. I wonder what the deal is. Then I see all my friends. Happy birthday, Sam! They yell. I'm happy. It's the best birthday I've ever had. All right, so we've now reached the end of the point of view stories for the lesson Music Festival Part 1. Now, it's time for you to listen to each version again. Then, when you feel like you understand the stories, try to tell the story yourself. Just try to do your best, and don't be upset if you're having any sort of trouble. Just relax and listen to it again, and you'll start to hear how each story changes. Listen until you feel comfortable telling the story on your own. Okay, that's all for now. See you next time.
Hi, this is Kristen Dodds.
And this is Joe Weiss. And we just wanted to let you know that this material has been copyrighted in the year 2009 by Learn Real English, LLC. www.learnrealenglish.com.
Hello, and welcome to the vocabulary lesson for the conversation Music Festival Part 1. This is the first part of a second part conversation and lesson. In this conversation, Joe and I are talking about a big music festival that we went to about a month and a half ago with many of our friends. The festival was in a really big park here in San Francisco. The name of the park is Golden Gate Park. Okay, let's begin with the conversation. I start off by saying, so. And so is just a filler word here. It's not really needed. I say, so, what'd you think of the festival tonight? What'd is short for what did. And ya is short for you. So I'm saying, I'm speaking to Joe, what did you think of the festival tonight? Festival. here it means a music concert. A festival can be different events, though, or different things, but here it means a music concert. Festival. An example of festival would be, I really enjoyed the music festival. My favorite band played there. Festival. And then Joe says, oh. And oh is a filler word here. It's not really needed. You could take it out of the sentence and the sentence would still make sense. Joe goes on to say, I thought it was great. So he's saying, I thought it was very good. And then Joe goes on to say, I had a great time the entire day, or he's saying the whole day. Actually. And actually, when Joe ends a sentence with actually, that's a filler word. It's not really needed. And then I say, yeah. And yeah is casual or informal or slang for yes. And I go on to say, good, me too. And then Joe says, you know, and you know is short for you know. You know. And Joe goes on to say, I thought it was a great idea for us all to meet over at Tim's place. I mean, and Joe, what Joe's saying here is, what I'm trying to say is, and he goes on to say, you and I were obviously running late. Or he's saying, you and I were for sure running late. Running late, this means late. Running late. Now we're not really running here. Running late, it just means late. For example, I was running late to work because the train was not working. Running late. And Joe goes on to say, we're running late because he lives out in the boonies. Now, boonies, this is an area where there is not a lot of other things like restaurants or stores. Boonies. For example, Tim lives out in the boonies. The closest store is 1 mile away from his house. Boonies. And Joe goes on to say, but, and is just a filler word here. It's not really needed. And Joe says, you know, better late than never. Better late than never. This means it is better to do something late than not at all. Better late than never. For example, sometimes my students come to class late, but it is better late than never. And then I say, yeah, I agree. When you get a group of people together to go to an event like this, or I'm saying to go to a festival like this or such as this, it just adds to the enjoyment. So I'm saying, or it makes it more of a good time. And I go on to say, you know, the fun. And it's kind of like the saying goes, the more the merrier. Now, kind of is just a filler here. It's not really needed. Kind of like the saying goes. Saying. A saying is a group of words with an important meaning. So it's kind of like the saying goes, the more the merrier. So the more the merrier, this is a saying. And what it means is the more people with you, the more fun you will have. The more the merrier. For example, we went to the concert with 10 people. We had a great time. I always think the more the merrier. Okay, moving on with the conversation, Joe goes on to say, yeah, I totally agree. So he's saying, yeah, I completely agree. And he goes on to say, and you know, and is a filler word here. It's not needed. And Joe says, I think it was really important, or he's saying, I think it was very important that we all went to the concert together in one group because, you know, it was so large, or he's saying it was very big. And he goes on to say, it would have made it really difficult to find people in our group if we would have all gone separately, or if we would have all gone by ourselves. And then I say, right. Right meaning yes, I'm just agreeing with Joe. And I go on to say, I mean, and Joe says, it actually, or he's saying it actually surprised me because that the crowd was so large. Crowd meaning all the people at the festival. And Joe says, I mean, the tickets cost an arm and a leg. An arm and a leg. What this means is the tickets cost a lot. Arm and a leg, it means costs a lot. For example, it costs an arm and a leg to buy a new car. Now, it doesn't really mean that you're paying an arm and a leg for the car, obviously. It just means it costs a lot of money. An arm and a leg. And then Joe goes on to say, so I was kinda thinking, kinda is short for kind of, and thinkin' is short for thinking. And Joe says that maybe the crowd wouldn't be as big. Or he's saying, I was thinking the crowd wouldn't be so big. And I say, yeah, but price doesn't usually deter you from going to hear music, right? So I'm saying cost doesn't usually deter you from going to hear music or to listen to music, right? Does it? Deter. Deter means prevent or to keep from. Or to keep someone from doing something, I should say. Deter. For example, people can go to jail if they drive drunk. But this does not deter people from doing it. It does not keep people from doing it. Deter. And then Joe says, no, it's true. You're right. And I say, but, and both of these are just filler words. They're not needed for what I'm about to say. Then I go on to say, speaking of us staying together, or talking of us staying together, it just, and just is a filler word here, it just was making me think of the crowds, and I just didn't think that in general, or I'm saying overall, the festival was laid out that well. Or I'm saying it just didn't seem like overall the festival was laid out that well, or it wasn't laid out very good. Now, laid out, this means organized. Laid out. And Joe says, well, and well is a filler word here. Joe goes on to say, there were 4 different stages. Stages, or a stage, this is something that bands play on, or where actors or actresses perform plays. It's usually made out of wood and is made higher than standing or sitting crowds of people, so that the people performing on the stage can be seen from far away. And then I say, no, there were 6. So I'm saying, no, there were 6 stages, not 4. And Joe says, oh, there were 6 stages? And I say, yeah. And Joe says, see, we only went to 2 of them. Here is short for them. And I say, I know. And Joe says, but the stages were kind of far apart. Kind of here means sort of. Kind of far apart. For example, I kind of like when it rains, though I like sunshine better. Kind of. And Joe goes on to say, and you know what the most impractical design was? Design, this means the layout or the organization of the festival. And impractical means not useful or helpful. Impractical. For example, I thought that some of my classes in college were impractical. Impractical. And Joe goes on to say, I thought that they had very narrow walkways between the stages. Narrow walkways. This, what Joe's talking about here, is places to walk between stages, or from one stage to another stage to another stage. Places to walk between stages that did not have a lot of space. And then I say yes, agreeing with Joe. And then Joe says, and is just a filler word here. It's not needed. Joe goes on to say, sometimes you had to go through a little tunnel, like a foot tunnel. Now, tunnel, this is a place to walk that goes through or under a blocked area. So it lets you, or it allows you to walk through or under a blocked area. Tunnel. And I say, yep. Yep is just slang for yes. And Joe says, and there'd be thousands of people trying to go through a space that only maybe 20 people could go through at a time. Or he's saying that only 20 people could go through at one time. And I say, oh yeah, the crowd would get completely bottlenecked. Bottlenecked. This means unable to move because it is too crowded. Bottlenecked. For example, everyone left at the end of the concert. There were so many people that we could not move. It was a complete bottleneck. Bottlenecked, or in this example, bottleneck. And then Joe says, yeah, exactly. Or he's saying, yeah, for sure. Definitely. And Joe goes on to say, so, tryin' is short for trying to go from one stage to the next. Or he's saying to go from one stage to another stage. And he goes on to say, was just, it took a lot of time and effort. Or he's saying it took a lot of time and energy. And I say, yeah, I agree. And Joe says, so that was one thing that was, just not properly planned for. Or he's saying it was not very well planned for. And he goes on to say, on their part. What he means here, on their part, he's saying it wasn't very well planned for by the people who planned or designed the festival, or who organized the festival. And I say, no. So what I'm saying here is no, not at all. I'm agreeing with Joe. It wasn't very well planned. And I go on to say, and then there'd be all these random trails through the woods. Now, random means scattered. Random. And trails through the woods. These are walking paths through areas with a lot of trees. Trails through the woods. And I go on to say that people were trying to forge their way through. Forge means to push through. Forge. And Joe says, yeah, true. And he goes on to say, another thing that was a real hassle, or he's saying was a big hassle. And hassle is inconvenience. Hassle. For example, flying is a hassle because it takes so long to go through security. Hassle. So Joe goes on to say he's saying it was a real hassle was trying to get a beer. And I say, oh my God, yeah. So I'm just showing a lot of emotion while agreeing with Joe. And then Joe says, I mean, the wait, the line was like, and like here is a filler word. And he goes on to say, 120 people long. Now, a line, this is people standing one behind another one, waiting to buy something or to do something. And then Joe goes on to say, every time you wanted to go get a beer. And I say, yeah, well, first you had to stand in line just for them to check your ID. And when I say them, I mean the people working at the festival. And I'm saying to check or to look at your ID. An ID, this is short for identification. So I'm speaking about people working at the festival. They would look at ID cards to make sure people wanting to drink beer were 21 years old or older. So they were 21 years old. They were of the legal age to drink beer, 21 years or older. So I'm saying these people were checking IDs. And then I go on to say, and get the wristband. Wristband, this is something that you wear around your wrist. A wristband. So after these people at the festival, working at the festival, would check your ID to make sure you were 21 years or older, then they would give you this wristband, this thing to wear around your wrist. And Joe says, yeah, and then I say, that was bad enough. So what I'm saying here is that was bad enough to stand in this long line to have your ID checked. It was bad enough without having to wait in a second line then to buy beer. And Joe says, oh, that was an even longer line. So he's saying there were more people in the line where festival workers were looking at ID cards for legal ages to drink beer. That line was longer than the line to buy beer. And I say, yeah, agreeing with him. And then Joe says, yeah. And I say, I mean, once you had the wristband, though, then it was battling the lines just to get a beer. Battling the lines, this means waiting in a long line. Battling the lines. For example, I hated battling the lines each time I wanted to buy a beer. Battling the lines. And then I go on to say each time. So I'm saying every time you wanted to buy a beer. And then I go on to say, yeah, it was ridiculous. Ridiculous meaning it was a big inconvenience. And Joe says, yeah, if you wanted to go get a beer while the band was playing, you basically is just a filler word here. It's not really needed. So Joe's saying you basically had to decide, or you had to choose whether or if you wanted to see the music. And I say, yep. And Joe goes on to say, or you really wanted a beer. And really here, this is filler. It's not needed in the sentence. And then Joe goes on to say, which was more important to you? So he's saying you had to decide, was it more important to buy a beer or to listen to the music? And then I say, right, agreeing with him. And then Joe says, you had to make a choice, you know? And I say, yeah. And I go on to say, make a list. Or I'm saying you had to write down. Make a list of pros and cons. Now, pros and cons, these are the good and bad points. Pros and cons. Now, obviously, I'm not at this music festival writing down the good and the bad points about whether I wanted to choose to listen to music or to choose to stand in a long line to buy beer. I'm just saying this kind of joking. I'm not being serious. This could be called sarcasm. I'm joking. I'm not being serious here. An example of pros and cons. I thought about the pros and cons of going to college in the state of Florida, but I ended up going to school in Georgia. Pros and cons. And then Joe says, yeah. How thirsty am I? Or he's saying, how much do I want to drink? How thirsty am I? Versus, or compared to, how much do I want to hear this music? So he's just responding to me saying, make a list of pros and cons. And Joe goes on to say, and the lines to the bathroom were really long also. And then I say, yeah, the lines in general were just a hassle. I have to agree. And then Joe says, yeah, I mean, I remember when we were leaving the event, it took us over an hour. Or he's saying it took us more than 1 hour. And he goes on to say, just to get out of the stadium. Now, stadium, this is a large place where they have sports or music concerts. A stadium is a building where they have sports or music concerts. I don't know why Joe said stadium here. He really didn't mean stadium because this music festival was just outside in a park. It wasn't in an actual stadium. But that's what stadium means. A large place or a large building where they have sports or music concerts. And then I say, oh God, just showing emotion. And Joe says, remember, there were all these people who were starting is short for starting. There were all these people who were starting to climb the fences. So there were all these people who were starting to go over the fences. A fence is something used to keep people or animals from entering. Or from coming in, from entering, from coming in. And I say, yeah. And Joe says, instead of going through the little tunnel. So he's saying not going through the little tunnel. People were climbing over the fences. They weren't going through the tunnel. And then Joe goes on to say, I mean, and then I say, yes. And Joe says, and the fence, it looked like it was gonna break. Gonna, this is short or slang for going to. Gonna break. So the fence looked like it was gonna break or it was gonna fall down. There were so many people going over it, climbing over it. And then Joe goes on to say, I mean, it was totally an accident waiting to happen. An accident waiting to happen. This means dangerous, not safe. An accident waiting to happen. For example, one of the steps to Tim's house is broken. It is an accident waiting to happen. And then I say, right, that was something I didn't understand. Like at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, I didn't remember seeing fences like that. Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. This is a music festival in San Francisco. It's the name of the music festival. Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. And Joe says, well, Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, that festival is free. Free meaning it doesn't cost any money. And Joe goes on to say, so, I don't think. And then I say, oh yeah. Like I'm remembering, oh yeah, it's free, it doesn't cost money. And then Joe says, they had to put up barriers to, so he's saying the workers of the festival, I don't think they had to put up barriers. Now barriers, this is something used to keep people or animals from entering. Like fences. Barriers. Something used to keep people or animals from entering or from coming in. So Joe is saying because this other music festival, Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, is free, they don't put up fences for that because people don't pay. They can just go in anywhere into the park. But the music festival that we're speaking of, that we had just gone to, you did have to pay for that. So they had fences up everywhere. They had these barriers, these things to keep people from coming in who had not paid. And then I say, that's okay. So I'm saying this because it's making sense to me now why there were fences for this festival and not fences at the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival. And then Joe says, to entry. So he's saying, they didn't have to put up these barriers to entry. Entry meaning the area or areas where you would go into the festival. And then I say, that makes sense. Or that, I'm saying that's understandable. And I go on to say, I was wondering what the deal was with the fences. So I'm saying I was wondering, or I was asking myself what the deal was. What the deal was, this means what was happening. What the deal was. For example, I went to the restaurant at 5:00 p.m., but it was closed. I was wondering what the deal was. Then someone told me that the restaurant closes early on Sundays. What the deal was. And Joe says, yes. Starts to say something. And I say, okay. And then Joe says, so that's why you never have that problem at that festival. And I say, right. Like, okay, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, this is the end of the conversation for Music Festival Part 1. And it's the end also of the vocabulary lesson for the conversation Music Festival Part 1. So, as always, go back if you need to and listen, making sure that you've got a basic understanding of the vocabulary before you move on to the mini story. And then after the mini story, go on to Music Festival Part 2. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Kristen Dodds.
And this is Joe Weiss. And we just wanted to let you know that this material has been copyrighted in the year 2008 by Learn Real English, LLC. www.learnrealenglish.com